Okay, the Senate Education Committee will be called to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Chairman Fuller.
Here.
Chair Novak.
Here.
Chair Temple. Vice Chair Temple.
Yes.
Senator Beard.
Here.
Senator Emmerich.
Excused.
Senator Esp.
Here.
Senator Mandeville. Here. Senator Manzella.
Here.
Senator Morgeau.
Here.
Senator Olson.
Yes, here. Thank you.
Senator Trivas.
Here.
Senator Vinton.
Here.
Senator Weber.
Right here.
Senator Windyboy.
Here.
13 present, 1 excused, Mr. Chair.
We have a quorum, and so let's get started. A couple of general announcements. This is our first meeting of the 69th legislative session for the Senate Education Committee. So we have a couple of things we need to do, and if people will bear with us while we do these things. I've served, and many of us have served with each other, but there are a couple of new faces. So if we could start with Senator Windyboy, just a quick bio as who you are and where you're from.
Thank you very much. I was sitting across the hall over there in the wrong committee, so I apologize. But anyways, Senator Windyboy, this is my 12th session. I served 3 in the House, came over for 4, went back for 4, and this is my first. But it's good to be back here, and good to serve with some of you guys. Some of you came from the House, and good to be back.
Welcome. Senator Esp.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I thought you were doing new people. I'm kind of an old people, but.
We're doing everybody because there's some people.
Oh, okay. Well, John Esp. I live in Big Timber. This is my 10th session up here. I've never served on Education Policy Committee, so this is a first.
Susan Weber. I'm from Browning, and I've spent almost all my tenure here on this committee.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to give an introduction for Senator Emmerich since he's not here?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Senator Emmerich is invisible. No. I'm Senator Mandeville, Forrest Mandeville from Columbus. I've been in the House and Senate off and on since 2015. This is also the first time I've been on the Education Committee, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm Chair John Fuller. I'm from Kalispell. I spent 45 years assaulting the windmills of ignorance as a teacher, and retired in 2009, which somehow seems like yesterday. And this is my first year as chair of education. I've been on education ever since I've been in the legislature.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name is Sue Vinton. I come from Lockwood, Montana, and served 4 terms in the House, where I served twice on the House Education Committee. I'm proud to have served 12 years on the Lockwood School Board, 4 years on the Montana School Board Association Board of Directors, and look forward to this opportunity to serve in the Senate Education Committee.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Novak, and I represent Senate District 36. I live in Anaconda, and this is my first session in the Senate. I did serve 1 session in the House. I was on Education and House, and so I'm happy to be here as well. I served with some of you over there, and happy to be on board. I do have a background in education. I've spent the last 2 decades now as a public school educator. Most of my career has been in special education, school counseling. I currently serve as a special education director, so happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Trebus, Senate District 10 out of Great Falls. This will be my 4th session. I've been in the House twice, and this will be the 2nd session as a senator as part of my 1st term. I've never served on the Education Committee, but I was interested in this change-up, so I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. Russ Temple, my district is District 14. It goes from Whitlash to Glasgow, 260 miles east and west. I've been on this committee 4 sessions past. This will be my fifth session in the Senate, and I'm looking forward to working with all you folks. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Senator Teresa Manzella, representing Senate District 44, which is Hamilton, Ravalli County, south of Missoula in western Montana. And this is my 6th session, served 3 in the House, and this is the first half of my 2nd term in the Senate. And I was fortunate enough to serve on education 1 term prior, and it's amazing how our education system actually works and trying to connect the dots on it all. And I'm interested in learning more and making it more effective. Thank you.
Hello all, my name is Senator Jacinda Morjo. I am from Arley, Montana. This is my 1st session, but I come from an education background, working with TRIO Upward Bound and high school students, working toward higher education attainment. So I'm really passionate about A, public schools, and B, students being successful in high school and middle school so that they can go on to be successful in college and university and all sorts of trades. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Becky Beard, Senate District 38, which encompasses Powell, Granite, and Jefferson counties, along with precincts in Missoula County, Deer Lodge County, and Lewis and Clark County. So I answer to 6 counties in my district. This is my 5th session in the legislature, my 2nd session in the Senate, and my first experience with the Senate Education Committee. My goal is to make sure that we implement policies that will enhance student outcomes. Thank you very much.
Welcome to representing people from Missoula County. I'm Andrea Olson, born, raised, and educated in Missoula, and representing Missoula now this is going on my sixth session. This is my 2nd in the Senate, and I've been on education since then. And I do have to say, I think education is fundamentally important. It's the way we invest in our future as a state, the way we invest in the future of our economy, and the way we invest in the future of our children. So I hope we do really great work together, and I look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, committee. As you can see, those spectating can see, we have a lot of talent on this committee, and I plan on utilizing it to the fullest extent. We also need to introduce our staff here. To my right is Pat McCracken, and he has been a long-time educational staff member, and he will probably be your greatest source for school funding. There are only about 5 or 6 people in the state of Montana who truly understand school funding, I think, and he's one of them. And to his right is Jack Eve, who is a graduate of Flathead, the Flathead Braves, where I taught school, but unfortunately for him, I retired before, or fortunately for him, I retired before he did. Okay, so a couple of things we need to talk about. I have an envelope here for contributions by the senators and the staff committee for snacks later on in the session. If you would make that contribution and then record your name there, that'd be good. Additionally, you should have Senate proxy votes. If you are excused absence, you need a proxy. What I would like for you to do is put your name and then put the person the senator you would like to have carry your proxy. You might not automatically want me or the vice chair to carry that proxy. You can, whomever you wish. That's on the committee, that is. Okay. And that being said, I think we're ready for business. A couple of things. We do need you to sign in outdoors if you're going to give testimony. We would like to that. Please silence your cell phones. That's not going to be a problem today. We don't have a time limitation today. We're pretty good on time. This is our only bill. We are going to have executive action when we're concluded with the committee indulges me on that. And please note that your information in your testimony is public record, and we're all being recorded so that we can have future reference under the Montana Accessibility Act. Okay, at this time, we will now hear Senate Bill 59, sponsored by Senator M. Cuff. Senator Cuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. This is not the biggest piece of business we're going to do this session in the entire scope of the state. Now, for the folks behind me, this is a huge deal. For me personally, it's a huge deal. For the folks of Lincoln County, and I think by the end of this hearing this afternoon, people across Montana will feel this is a very important thing. And it's a true honor for me to make this presentation. Many folks have said in talking about where we are today, whether it's automobiles or whatever stage in life, we stand on the shoulders of some of the folks ahead of us. We also stand beside the graves of some folks that did not make it through. And there was something, and sometimes it's been referred to as the forgotten war, the undeclared war. And we're talking about the Vietnam, which in the beginning was called Vietnam conflict, as I remember. But for the guys out there, it was war, and war is hell. War is also hell for the folks back home. The folks back home include some of the people that are here. Some of them, as they come, they may get into difficulties. I've asked I've asked the chair if I might be able to step up and help finish for them. So, with that bit, this came to me on behalf of the the VFW post, Harper Erdman post number 48 at Libby, Montana, and asked me about dedicating the bridge across the Kootenai River on Highway 37 in honor of a we'll call him a favorite son, a young man who went off to Vietnam, and you'll hear lots of stories about it, how that happened. And he didn't have to go, but he told his wife, if I don't, somebody else will have to. That is kind of how Artie Rambo lived his life. Now, the family would prefer that I not say what I'm going to say. Many of you have seen movies, Sylvester Stallone movies, about Rambo. And the reason they don't want that mentioned is because that has nothing to do with Artie Rambo. And totally coincidental, totally hateful to them, because the personality presented in the movie is exactly the opposite personality of Artie Rambo. And he truly gave his life in protection of the folks that he was in command of. So without further ado, I think I'm going to ask Bill Cruz and Keith Kidwell to come up, and they're the ones that led this drive through Libby, and they did a fantastic job. I told them they had to prove to me we were going to have good, positive community support. They went out. They got it in spades. So I think Bill, Post Commander Bill Cruz, and followed by Deputy or Vice Commander.
Senator Cuff.
Excuse me, Senator Bright Cuff. Senate District 1 in the northwest corner, Eureka Libby Troy, and the home of Artie Rambo. Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Senator Cuff. I'll call for proponents here, and if you're done with your introduction.
Okay.
Okay. I will call for proponents. As probably, I believe, rather confidently, the only combat veteran of Vietnam currently in the Montana State Legislature, this is a special day for me. I'm sorry if I get emotional, but I came home to an undeserving, an ungrateful country, not undeserving, but ungrateful country. And I am honored to be chair of the committee that is going to try to rectify that. And I apologize for my outburst. We will now have our proponents. Please state your name for the record and spell it so that the secretary can get it accurately.
Good afternoon. My name's Bill Cruz. I'm the commander of Harper Erdman Post in Libby, Post 1548, Veterans of Foreign Wars.
Could you spell your name, please?
Yes, Bill Cruz, C-R-E-W-S. Get that a lot. First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for hearing me. I am a proponent of this. It's very easy to get behind for me, as I'm a combat veteran myself. My father was a Vietnam veteran, so this is personal to me as well. I've had the honor of working alongside my senior vice commander, Keith Kidwell, in pursuing the goal of naming the bridge in Libby for a well-deserving man, Arthur John Rambo. After reading and hearing the story of Staff Sergeant Rambo, it was an easy decision. It was a no-brainer. He was obviously an honorable man, served his country, served his community, served his state, and that's easy for me to get behind. He made the ultimate sacrifice, and he deserves this. I'm proud to have been involved in this worthy effort and would like to thank the family of Staff Sergeant Rambo, Keith Kidwell, Senator Cuff, and the Libby community for getting behind this and for honoring this great American. Thank you.
Next proponent witness.
Hello, my name is Keith Wayne Kidwell. It's Keithkidwell, and I'm the Senior Vice Commander and the Service Officer of VFW Post 1548 in Libby. This project was presented to me by a schoolmate of Mr. Rambo's. He's also a life member of the VFW, and even though he doesn't reside in Libby anymore, he conducts business there, and he came to me with this idea. He told me they always wanted to see this worked on, and I told him I would take this on and try to see it through. So in doing so, I reached out to the newspaper and on social media, and I asked people for letters supporting this, and I know I've received over 700 letters of approval. So with all of this, I've wanted to tell you that I'm here today to represent our post, our members, our community, and asking for you to please consider naming this bridge over the beautiful Kootenai River in Arthur Rambo's memory. Mr. Rambo was an exceptional student, a stellar athlete, and an accomplished musician. He was so loved by his town that 55 years later we're still speaking warmly of his good deeds and his accomplishments. Twice Mr. Rambo was offered deferments when he was drafted in 1968, and twice he refused. Upon his departure to Vietnam, he was quoted by his family stating that serving your country is the price that you pay for living in the United States. Mr. Rambo was highly educated. He held 2 degrees. In fact, one of them is from here at Carroll College here in Helena. He quickly rose up in rank, achieving staff sergeant under 11 months. Tragically, on November 26, 1969, his unit fell under an attack, and Staff Sergeant Rambo perished trying to save his crew members and their equipment to stay in the fight. Today, Mr. Rambo is buried in Libby beside his parents and other family members. There is a scholarship in his honor as well, and I stand here today to ask you, our leaders, to help honor him by naming our bridge in his honor, so future generations of Libby and Montana citizens will be reminded of his sacrifice. Staff Sergeant Rambo exemplified what it means to say that there is no greater love for a man than to lay down his life for his brothers. So, thank you.
Next proponent.
I'm not quite as tall. Good afternoon, Chair Fuller, members of the Senate Education and Cultural Resources Committee. For the record, my name is Mandy Rambo, R-A-M-B-O. Although I normally stand in front of this legislative body in my position as the Deputy Director at the Montana Department of Commerce, I stand before you in my personal capacity today. As you may have guessed by the last name, Arthur John Rambo was a relative. He was my father's first cousin. My father is over here. And he was also named for my grandpa, who is Arthur Harold Rambo. Although I never met Art, because he was killed in action prior to me being born, my brothers and I grew up knowing Art's story and the sacrifice that he made to ensure that we and all others in the United States were able to keep the liberties that we have. In my teens and my early 20s, I was able to follow in his footsteps as both a vocal soloist and a graduate of Carroll College. As I was thinking about my testimony, doing some research on Art and his service, I came across a post from his widow, Helen Ryan Rambo Christensen, who unfortunately passed away in May of 2018. I couldn't think of a better way to testify to Art's bravery, character, and his personality than what Helen had to say in a September 2007 post on The Wall, which is a USA Vietnam Veterans Memorial webpage. So I hope you will allow me to read her words for you. An engineering graduate, an outstanding student, a soloist, husband, and father, Art Rambo was a good friend and an admirable man. After graduating from Libby High School, he attended Carroll College in Helena, Montana. During his Carroll years, he was a soloist and performed lead roles in a number of musical productions at Carroll, including Camelot and The Fantastics. Under the 3-2 engineering program, Art received his Bachelor of Arts degree in mathematics from Carroll in 1967 and completed his engineering studies at the University of Notre Dame, graduating with a Bachelor of Science degree in chemical engineering in 1968. In September of 1968, Art was drafted and, upon completion of basic and advanced training, attended the Artillery Combat Leadership course at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. After 11 months in the service, he was promoted to the rank of Staff Sergeant, which is an accomplishment achieved by only 1/10 of 1% of all Army personnel. Art's superiors attested that he was an exceptionally brilliant man and was rated as highly qualified. He shipped out to Vietnam in August of 1969. 3 months later, on November 26, 1969, 3 weeks short of his 25th birthday, he was serving with the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment in charge of an artillery gunnery crew when his squadron came upon hostile fire from mortars and North Vietnamese Army ground attack. Art died when a rocket-propelled grenade hit his vehicle. For his heroism, he was posthumously awarded the Silver Star, the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, and the Vietnamese Presidential Citation. His survivors include his wife, Helen, his 2 daughters, Carrie and Amy, both of whom were under the age of 2 when he died. Had he lived, he would be the proud grandfather of 6. Art was an exceptionally fine person, and we will always remember him for the way that he lived rather than the way that he died. After Art was killed in action, Helen met and married Chris Christensen, and together with their children, Carrie, Amy, Molly, and Reed, along with Art's siblings, Patty, Dan, and Kathleen, they have kept Art's memory alive through a number of ways, including 2 different memorial scholarship programs, one for graduates of Libby High School and one for students of Carroll College. The designation of this memorial bridge would be another way to keep Art's sacrifice and the memories of his bravery alive for future generations. I'd like to thank the committee for your time, and I'd urge you to move this bill forward to honor the memory of a great American and a great Montanan hero. Thank you for your time, and I stand for any questions should you have any.
Thank you, Ms. Rambo. Any more proponents?
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Roscoe. My last name is spelled, actually my first name is spelled M-A-R-C, and my last name is R-A-C-I-C-O-T. I would like to first of all express my gratitude to Senator Mike Cuff for introducing Senate Bill 59. And I would also, in a very special way, like to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your courtesy and your kindness in allowing me to briefly offer some thoughts that hopefully will be helpful in your deliberations. In our complex world of human affairs, it may seem unlikely in these days for people of different means, different insights, different beliefs, and different imperatives to share in the joy of a universal and unanimous moment of connection and peace. But today, Mr. Chairman, I believe we're provided with one of those opportunities. It provides us with one of those touching moments that, infused with goodness and decency and kindness, offer us a moment where peace and respect toward one another prevail in doing something good and decent and thoughtful. In just a few months, 56 years will have passed since I learned of the death of Staff Sergeant Art Rambo on a battlefield in Vietnam. So far away from his hometown of Libby, Montana. He was 24 years old, recently graduated from the University of Notre Dame, married to Helen, one of his singing partners at Carroll College, and importantly, the father of 2 daughters, one of whom he would never have the chance to hold tight to his chest. I was 3 years younger than Art and had the opportunity to observe and come to know him in a way that was warm and cordial and fortunate. Art Rambo was inarguably gifted and talented in so many ways as a student, as an athlete, and a musician. He literally was a man for all seasons. But above all that, there was much to admire about Art, but the most important was his character, his conscience, and his courage that marked his short life and set him apart for the ages. At Washington Square in Philadelphia, there is the final resting place of an unknown Revolutionary War soldier who died in battle. The memorial marking his grave bears the following words: "Beneath this stone lies the body of a man who gave his life to give you liberty." Heroes never think nor act upon their own behalf first. How could we not celebrate, recognize, and memorialize the life of a man whose instincts and actions, when confronted with almost certain death, were truly heroic, and whose time on earth, though ever so brief, was so full of gallantry and facing the ultimate sacrifice. Although Art was just a man, as Shakespeare noted, we will never see his like again. But by passing Senate Bill 59, you help us all to recall and remember Art's life and death, which in turn serves as a reminder for each of us to share our own full measure of integrity, care, and concern for one another. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Governor. Any more proponents?
Mr. Chairman and committee members, my name is Tony Smith, S-M-I-T-H, and I am here to speak on behalf of Senate Bill 59, one proposing to name the Highway 37 bridge over the Kootenai River in the name of Staff Sergeant Arthur J. Rambo. For 38 years, I taught social sciences and coached basketball at Troy High School, 18 miles west of Libby, and am currently a teacher and music therapist at Turning Winds Academic Institute, a boarding school for troubled teens in the heart of the beautiful Yak Valley, where I've been employed for the past 10 years. Growing up in Libby, Montana, Arthur Rambo was in my graduating class of 63 and a dear friend. We participated in music events together and played on a state championship baseball team. I have maintained a lifetime relationship with the Rambo family, spending countless hours with Arthur's deceased parents after Arthur's death, a wonderful friendship with Patty Rambo over the years, and was Dan Rambo's Legion baseball coach as well. As a Vietnam veteran, I had been to Vietnam and was out of my service in the Navy when Arthur was drafted in 1969. In fact, Arthur and I spent an evening dinner engagement together with his folks before his departure for Vietnam. As events would have it, one's very familiar with this committee. Arthur lost his life on Thanksgiving Day in 1969. I was honored to provide music for the service in addition to serving as a pallbearer. It was an event most traumatic for those of us who loved and admired Arthur, and I have visited his gravesite in the Libby Cemetery on many occasions for periods of quiet reflection. Arthur John Rambo was a young man of high character and many accomplishments. It is not the primary purpose, however, of this committee, in my view, to reflect at this time on those accomplishments, as many other Lincoln County residents who have made the ultimate sacrifice were also very accomplished. What distinguishes Arthur Rambo, and for which we are gathered here today, is his gallantry in earning the Silver Star for making the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of his comrades. It is also my belief that the sacrifice made by Arthur Rambo is no less significant than those who stormed the beachheads at Omaha and Utah Beach during the Normandy invasion on June 6, 1944. Let us hope that naming the bridge in Arthur's name will be perceived and recognized as honoring all veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice, as well as those of us who represent Lincoln County by serving their country. To paraphrase the words of Lincoln at Gettysburg on November 19, 1863, it is for us, the living, to memorialize a hallowed ground and to be dedicated to the unfinished work that Arthur J. Rambo's sacrifice so nobly advanced. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do so. Thank you so very much for your willingness at Senator Cuff's urging and invitation to allow me to address you. Most sincerely and honorably, Tony Smith. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Any further proponent testimony?
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, my name is Dan Rambo, and I'm Art's brother. D-A-N is my first name. Rambo is R-A-M-B-O. And I'm just looking at here what I got to do. I have no idea which way this speech is going to go. I have done speeches before where I have all the paperwork here, and I never can do it right. I can't speak any better than Tony or Mark Roscoe. I can't speak any better than the representatives from the VFW or Senator Cuff. I'll say something. I'll say it later. But a couple things, though, of just personal interest. I think of the Libby Bridge and the Kootenai River in a different aspect, because before the dam was built, Art used to work on the flooding that happened in Bonners Ferry every year as a summer job, I believe. I might have been for the Forest Service or Jane Eels, I'm not sure, but he just always liked going down there and building dikes and taking care of the floods in Bonners Ferry. And that's kind of a tie to that bridge. The other thing about naming the bridge is, as far as I know, it's not renaming it. I don't think it's ever had a name except Kootenai River Bridge. And so I feel good about that. Art for sure would not want just his name, but representing other people that have served and didn't make it back. So this is not a single individual award, I hope, or a plaque or an honor for sure. But I told Senator Cuff that I was not going to speak. But since I didn't have a format to follow, I figured I could get through it. But I want to thank my sister, Patty, who will speak next, I believe. She says I have to speak first because she'll never make it. But it means a lot to our family for what Art represented and other people that Art represents. 55 years is a long time, but not too many days or weeks or so go by when you don't think of similar things. I just watched a movie the other day that was, I assume it was true, something like 6 888s or something, about a battery of women that went to World War II and reinstated the mail service basically to the veterans and the people back home. And so those things revive my feelings. I wanted to thank Senator Fuller for serving. I've never said that to anybody else. I don't know why. But I sincerely want to thank Mark Roscoe for coming and speaking on Art's behalf. He set up a what did you set up, Mark? Reception. Can't think of the word. Down at Carroll College from 5 to 7 tonight, and it's open to anybody that wants to come and just hang out and tell tall stories maybe. The other thing I noticed, that this is the 69th legislature. He was killed in 1969. So that came to mind. I want to thank everybody here for listening to a bunch of softies talk. I try never to go down that road. I'm very personal about this, but I felt it was important. Also, I want to thank my cousin, Kurt Rambo, for coming down. His dad was named Art. His father was named Art, and my son has the same name. And I remember when my son, we went down to his dad's place. Art's 28, so it had been about 27 years ago, and sat in his lap. And so you kind of have a history of the name. And whatever you guys decide to do, I just appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further proponents?
Senator Fuller and committee, thank you for allowing us to speak. I'm Patty Rambo, Batty-Rambo, and when this project was brought to my attention, I told the VFW the family was very honored and very humbled by the gesture. And Art was my big brother. And the whole world, my whole world revolved around my big brother. So it didn't matter where he was when he was in Helena going to school, when he was in Notre Dame going to school, when he was in Colorado working for Texaco Oil Company. He was out there. I was safe. I was comfortable. And when he was killed, my whole world fell apart. So I'm very emotional about it. One of the letters that was sent to the VFW that I want to read that kind of demonstrates how many people were moved by Art in a long relationship, in a very short relationship. And this was written by Ed Levert, who lives in Libby, or I'm not sure where he lives. Anyway, dear sirs, it was around 1967, as I remember, when I had the brief honor of meeting Art Rambo. My buddy and I were going to Spokane from Libby, and somehow we ended up giving Art a ride to and from Spokane that weekend. Art had recently graduated from Notre Dame, and as I recall, was on a furlough before shipping out to Vietnam. When I heard of his death a short time later, it was one of those watershed moments that you remember a lifetime. I was very impressed with Art's intellect and dynamic personality in that short time. He was just an unforgettable person. Later, knowing and working with the members of his family, Howard, Viola, Patty, and Dan, I could understand what an upstanding family he came from and the high values instilled in him at an early age. I believe in my short exposure to Art Rambo that his heroic actions in battle in Vietnam would have reflected those attributes that I observed years later. I certainly recommend that the Highway 37 bridge crossing the Kootenai River be named in the Art Rambo Memorial. Sorry, Amy. One person who's not here is Art's wife, Helen. And I have some excerpts from Helen that were published in the Black Horse Tales, Stories of the 11th Armored Cavalry Troopers of the War. It's a Donald Snedeker, and he was a lieutenant colonel, retired. And one of the letters from Helen was, Carrie Lynn is going to be Daddy's little girl. You know that, don't you? It's almost more than I could stand that night when I put her to bed for the last time. But I guess you knew that. One of the things we can keep in mind is that this is the last big hurdle we will ever have to cross. And Donald goes on to say, although it's a national issue, each individual had to decide how he would respond once he received his greetings from the President of the United States, the draft notice. As Mark alluded, he had 2 deferments, and when I make the statement awarding the scholarship in Libby, I state that he's played Sir Lancelot at Carol in Camelot. And one of the lines in there is, who will step up? Who will take the part? And Lancelot says, c'est moi, it is I will step up. And I feel that was part of why Art chose to go. Helen Christensen recalls her husband's reaction when the draft notice arrived. Art responded stoically at being drafted. Although we had an infant daughter, we knew it was possible that he'd be called up. I was a little angry because the draft board in his home county had some latitude about who got called up and when. His father was told by the board secretary that Art should have notified them about the birth of our daughter in June. He was drafted in August. Art saw it as an obligation that he needed to meet. He would never have tried to get out of it because it would mean some other person would have to serve in his place. I, on the other hand, was upset, frightened, and trying desperately not to lose perspective. I had hoped against hope that he wouldn't be drafted, but when it became a reality, I tried to be supportive and not add to his worries. Helen added, after reading her husband's letters to her 4+ decades later, Helen said in one letter, Art talks about the loneliness of having no friends, even after 6 weeks in country. It's very poignant and personal, but it also points out the lack of cohesion that was caused by the way the troops were conditioned not to get too close to anyone. They were individuals who were assigned to units once they arrived, instead of being an integral part of a unit that was sent over together. For some letters, newspapers and television were not the only source. Art had been in Vietnam just over 4 months when it happened. Helen and his wife knew right away. And these are her words. It was Thanksgiving time. On Tuesday, I was going to drive from Dillon, where I lived with the girls, to Libby to be with Art's family for the holiday. On Monday night, I had a dream that Art stood by my bed, and when I opened my eyes, he said, Helly, I've been hit. And I asked how bad. He looked down, shook his head, turned, and walked out the bedroom door. He walked to the other bedroom to look at the girls and then disappeared. That Friday, his parents and I were going to drive to Missoula to see his brother Dan play in a high school basketball game. My father called from Dillon and told us that the sheriff had been to his house looking for me because I needed to be notified that Art was missing in action. We were sick with fear and called the Red Cross seeking some kind of information. We had been invited to a brunch with family friends named Sullivan in Missoula on Saturday morning. Knowing that keeping busy would help, we left notes on the door of the Rambos' home about where we were going to be contacted through the Sullivans, and drove 125 miles and somehow made it through my brother-in-law's game on Friday night. The Sullivans lost their only son in Vietnam the previous March, and their son-in-law to be was Art's best friend and was also destined to go to Vietnam. As we were eating, Mrs. Sullivan looked through the window, saw 2 uniformed officers coming up the walk. We all knew why they were there. The officers asked to speak privately with me, and we went into the living room where they told me Art's body had been found. Frankly, I don't remember a lot of what they said, but this scene was burned into my memory. I got through that. Like Keith said, that there was almost 600 letters from family, friends, brief acquaintances, people that knew the family in Libby. Tony doesn't know this, but after this project came up, I was in a restaurant and I said something to the waitress and she went, oh, I know him. I grew up in Troy, and Tony Smith made sure everybody knew about Art Rambo. So that was quite moving. So I just want to thank you. And like I said, it is very personal, and we're honored, we're humbled. It will be hard driving over the bridge, but thank you for listening, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Any other proponents?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Amy Christensen, CHRISTENSEN. I told Senator Cuff I didn't know if I could speak because I wasn't sure I could get through it. So I appreciate you, Senator Fuller, kind of breaking the ice for us. So I was born in 1969. I did not ever meet my dad, never saw him. And I appreciate Mandy and my Aunt Patty talking about using my mom's words, who passed away not long ago, to describe him and what he meant to her and what a good man he was. And so I just wanted to thank everyone here. My mom it was very important to her that she imparted good memories of my dad to my sister Carrie and I, so that his memory could live on. And all of these people here have also been very supportive of that same concept, from the VFW to my aunt and uncle, Tony, the Rambos, everybody here. And so naming this bridge in his honor would be immensely important to our family. And so I really appreciate Senator Cuff bringing this forward and all the support from the Libby community. And I appreciate the committee's consideration of it. And I hope that you will approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further proponents? Are there any proponents online?
Mr. Chair, there are some proponents online.
Okay.
We will start with Sandy Matheny.
Okay, before we go to that, Director Torrington, are you, what? Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Chris Dorrington, D-O-R-R-I-N-G-T-O-N, and I am the Director of the Department of Transportation. I rise in support of Senate Bill 59. I'm uncertain. I was just trying to seek out some information if the fiscal note made it and a revised fiscal note made it. So originally, I think we said it at $9,000, and we are going to absorb the cost of the memorial. Great. I wanted to confirm that, and then I'll be available for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Jay Reardon, Jayreardon. I'm here today as just a citizen, not representing any organization, and I recommend it do pass on this wonderful bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Dennis Stoner, S-T-O-N-E-R, and I represent the Montana Enlisted and Officers Association for the National Guard. We are a proponent of this bill, and we hope that you vote in its support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further proponents in the room or in the hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Roger Hagan, last name spelled H-A-G-A-N, and I'm here in support of Senate Bill 59 and thank Senator Cuff. We had a great opportunity to work with him over the last several months, hearing stories about Sergeant Rambo. A little housekeeping before I proceed. Many of you recognize me as a lobbyist for the last several decades for veteran and military organizations. And it's important that I'm on the record that I am a civilian today testifying as a veteran on behalf of this bill. I was appointed to Board of Veteran Affairs by the governor, and therefore I will not lobby this session. I will just be here as an individual veteran supporting veteran causes. We urge your support of this bill. We think it's a very, very worthy cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. Any further proponents in the hall or in the room?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Kevin Grantier. I'm the state commander for the Disabled American Veterans. I'm here with my adjutant, Chase Natali. And on behalf of the 5,000 members of the Disabled American Veterans Life members, we proudly support this bill. Thank you.
Sir, would you spell your name for the record? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Kevin, K-E-V-I-N. Grantier is spelled G-R-A-N-T-I-E-R.
Thank you, Mr. Grantier.
Charles Natale, N-A-T-A-L-I-E, again, adjutant for the DAV, commander for Lewis and Clark County. I support this bill as well as our veterans, so thank you.
Thank you. Any further proponents? Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Dwayne Cunningham, C-U-N-N-I-N-G-H-A-M. On behalf of the American Legion of Montana, we support this bill wholeheartedly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have, I believe, 2 proponents online.
We have 3.
3?
One of them is registered, and the other 2 we don't know, but I think we should take a chance.
Could we take a chance? Yeah. Okay. Start with the first one that's registered.
That would be Mark Peck.
Mr. Peck, go ahead.
Chairman Fuller, committee members, I don't know what I could possibly add. I didn't know Art real well. I'm a lot younger. I know the family real well. I'm moved by the folks that were there to speak today, Governor Mark Roscoe, an old family friend, Tony Smith, the words that were spoken here. I just know that I'm a retired Air Force Master Sergeant, too young to serve in Vietnam, but Vietnam's always been I guess, a source of frustration and also a source of inspiration. I think, Vietnam produced some of the greatest heroes in our military history, and yet most have never received the hero's welcome or accolades that they deserve, unlike those in many other conflicts. And I think Art is one of those. Although I was young, I do remember when Art was killed in action, and I grew up in a home. My dad was a World War II veteran, and I remember the discussions and the impact that it had on him. I was moved, Chairman, by your comments about your homecoming and the lack of appreciation of a nation. And I thought maybe in honor of Art and Art's family, his daughters, his grandchildren, and all the others who paid the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam, and those that did make it home, that received the homecoming that you did, I'd like to share just a quick thought. I had a young man that worked for me during my time in the military, one of the best troops. He was the best troop I ever had. His name was Paul Nguyen, and that's spelled N-G-U-Y-E-N. And Paul was born in Hanoi. His folks escaped from there and made it to Saigon, and his dad went to work in the embassy. If we'll remember, just before the siege of Saigon, the people that were pressing at the embassy to try to get onto the helicopters to escape the country, Paul was 5 years old, and he remembered being at that gate with his mom, his baby sister, and I think another older sibling, but they let them in because his dad worked at the U.S. Embassy. The next thing he remembers is being on a helicopter, and he was with his dad and his brother because they separated the father and son from the women, and they went to separate refugee ships. But he remembers being on a helicopter and looking out over the bay, all these ships, and you can imagine a 5-year-old Vietnamese kid on a Huey helicopter, not knowing where his mom was at. Long story short, they ended up at Guam and eventually Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, and eventually got a sponsor to Ocala, Florida. The family started with nothing in the United States. His parents became independently wealthy. They started a cleaning business. Paul holds 2 master's degrees. He's the CEO of a healthcare organization in San Antonio. His younger sister attended the Air Force Academy as a very successful business executive. His older siblings are both highly successful engineers. The point that I want to make is that you don't dare speak ill of the United States to the Wen family. And their deep appreciation for the men and women along with Art and everybody else who served in Vietnam, even though our own nation may not have been very appreciative, I can guarantee you the Wen family was, and still is, and your service was not in vain there. Strong proponent that you support this. There's no way to make up for the loss of someone like Art Rambo, or to make up for the loss of his family, friends, but this might be a small way to help do that. And once again, a strong proponent. The Rambo family, I can't think of Libby, Montana without the Rambo family. Much like the Fennessys, the Roscoes, the Smiths, but like I say, I didn't get to know Art. He was much older than I was, but greatly appreciative, and I hope that you will strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peck. One other proponent online.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Sandy Matheny.
Yes, members of the committee, I apologize. My name is Mark Fennessy, Fennessy, and I'm using my wife's computer, ergo the listing for Sandy Matheny. I appreciate the opportunity to address the committee this afternoon, and I apologize for not being able to get to Helena in person. I attended the school system in Libby with Art from the first grade through high school, although he was a year ahead of me. And I would just like to relate a incident that I think serves as an example of Art's personality and his character, that as a youngster, a friend of mine and I were being bullied by an individual whose name I don't remember. And Art stepped in, even in grade school, to diffuse that situation. I've always remembered that situation. Excuse me. I think that any one of us that went through the draft procedures in the 60s would recognize the significance of Art's waiving the exemptions that he would have been entitled to at the time he was drafted. He was in school, he was married, and had 2 children. But he chose to enter the draft at that time and was lost. I really think that that serves as an example of the type of person Art Rambo was. And I would appreciate your consideration of this bill and the application of Art's name as a memorial on the bridge crossing the Kootenai River. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Any further proponents? Mr. Rambo, do you have a comment? One. Go ahead.
I have notes this time. Reintroduce myself?
No.
Okay. I'll make it quick. When I heard the word helicopter, it caused a memory. And it has to do with the 11th Armored Cavalry and what's called the Gold Star family. My mother kind of got me onto all this stuff way back when because I would never attend this stuff. There's 2 men in the 11th Armored Cavalry that have become friends over the years. I've attended about 5 of these reunions now. And every single time, this group makes you feel part of it. They make you feel part of it. I never have, because if you haven't been there, you don't have a clue what it's like. I cannot imagine landing in Vietnam from the United States of America in some very hot, swampy, people shooting at you environment. Pete Walter, when I first went to my first reunion, was the president of the 11th Armored Cavalry. Chuck Rafalji, don't ask me to spell his last name, it's a tough one. He loaded Art into the helicopter after the morning of the 26th, and has told me about it. He keeps out the details, but he confirmed it, because you always wonder, is that really him in that casket? But all of these people there, and a number of them have died since I first have gone. My Patty and my other sister Kathleen have attended a couple with me. We just got back from Omaha, Nebraska on one, and that's when Senator Cuff, oh, there you go, said, do we have any support for this bill? And I understand. I mean, you're not going to support something that you don't know everything about, that if it does or doesn't have support. Well, there was, I think there was 700 individuals at the reunion when was I there? September of this last year. And he came away with 300, 400, whatever it was, signatures that they gave me that day to send on to this committee and to Senator Cuff. So I just wanted to say how important the 11th Armored Cavalry, 3rd Howitzer Division, has been to the family. I'm still working on being one of their family members, but I just wanted to tell you more about what they have done as a unit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rambo. Any other proponents? Any opponents? Seeing none. Any informational witnesses? General.
Well, good afternoon, Chairman Fuller and distinguished members of the committee. I'm Major General J. Peter Ronick, H-R-O-N-E-K. I'm the Adjutant General for the Montana National Guard and the Director of the Department of Military Affairs. Thank you for this opportunity to address you today regarding the Silver Star Medal. I believe many of you have the citation in front of you. I'm here to provide a brief overview of the history, the rigorous vetting process for awarding the medal, and the approval authority involved in recognizing this high and rare honor. The Silver Star Medal is the third highest military decoration for valor in the combat awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces. Its origins trace back to World War I, when General John J. Pershing established the Citation Star, a small silver star attached to the ribbon of a campaign medal to recognize exceptional acts of gallantry. In 1932, Congress authorized the transformation of the Citation Star into a standalone decoration, the Silver Star. This change elevated its status and expanded its eligibility to all service members who demonstrate extraordinary heroism in the face of an armed enemy. Since its inception, the Silver Star Medal has symbolized courage, sacrifice, and exceptional service to our nation. The process for awarding the Silver Star Medal is the stringent to preserve its prestige and ensure it recognizes only the most deserving acts of heroism. The following steps are outlined in a typical vetting process. The first is the nomination. A commanding officer submits a detailed recommendation outlining the service member's actions, supported by witness statements, operational reports, and other evidence. It is then reviewed by the chain of command. This nomination is scrutinized by multiple levels of the chain of command to ensure the act meets the medal's criteria for extraordinary heroism in combat. Independent validation. A formal board or review panel often includes senior officers, evaluates a nomination for accuracy, authenticity, and alignment with the award's criteria. And then there's a legal administrator review. Each nomination undergoes for legal and administrative scrutiny to verify compliance with regulations, policies, and statutes governing military awards. The approval authority to approve the Silver Star Medal varies by branch of service, but generally rests at the highest level of the Department of Defense. For instance, in the Army, the Silver Star, which Staff Sergeant Rambo was approved by the Secretary of the Army. This high-level approval ensures consistency in the application of the criteria across all branches of service and underscores the seriousness of the honor. In conclusion, the Silver Star Medal represents the finest traditions of valor and sacrifice in our armed forces. Its rigorous vetting process and the requirement for high-level approval reflect the medal's distinguished legacy and the immediate responsibility that comes with awarding it. Regarding the award of the Silver Star for Arthur John Rambo for actions on 26 November 1969, the counts given are recognized as accurate and true and stand as a document of record with all systems of the Department of Defense. And I hope you consider this testimony as informational, but thank you for this attention. I'm happy to address any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Any other informational witnesses? Questions from the committee? Senator Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the sponsor, please.
Senator Cuff.
Senator Cuff, where is he?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senator Olson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Cuff, first I'd like to extend our deepest sympathy to all the family and friends. But I also would like, it's a technical question really, is that many people mentioned a lot of support. And as you know, we could take all of those in for the public record. So I was wondering if you had gathered them up and are prepared to submit those as public record, those letters of support.
Yes. Yes. The committee staff has those. We have pretty much everything that has been spoken of and a lot more. The stack of papers is about this thick. I have read them all 4 times. The last time, I can't remember, was it Tuesday night when I drove to Helena? At any rate, the night before I left home, I put them together. And I made copies, put them together. I thought I had it down pretty good. But as I was putting them together, I couldn't help, and I reread every one. And I won't say it brought tears to my eyes. What it did is tears rolled down my cheeks. So yes, they are available. The copy of the citation is available. Rather than putting out the big stack to everyone, we decided to make them available to pass around the table or whatever the chairman and committee would choose to do. But thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the family for sharing your story. It just brings chills to me. I come from a family of military men as well. Just too young for Vietnam, but we all watched it on the TV, right? It was one of those things every day. I just have a question for the, I guess, Chris Lorington from the DOT.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Lorington, I just caught your a part of your talk, I guess, and then you said $9,000, and then is this fiscal note correct?
May I look at it really quick?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we have enough, that we put enough money in there for this memorial.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, and yes. Senator Weber, just to follow up, it's $6,000 of our cost, but we're absorbing, so there's no allocation of money needed by the legislature.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Director, thank you.
Mr. Chair, thank you, Mr. Levnia.
Any other questions from the committee? Senator Cuff, would you like to close on your bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. You understand better now what I've been doing all week. I think this is going to be the first general bill, at the very least, that goes through here. Our leadership has agreed to move this forward as expeditiously as it can. This will go to the floor tomorrow.
You're assuming the committee will do it.
Oh, I am assuming, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's not forget that. I encourage a yes vote on this, and I hope to move this forward quickly across the floor tomorrow. I hope you lead in helping the support. And if I fail to describe the bill well enough, I trust that some of you will stand up and give it a boost. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for doing this, arranging the committee today, and getting us going. It's a chance for us all to do a very special thing. Now, we know we got a few rough edges we're knocking off from each other's and getting things square of how we're going to operate. But this is a chance to really begin this session with a positive bill, a feel-good bill, a very, very meaningful bill, that we can get it out the door, and the good people in Libby, the highway department will get this thing ready, and they can begin planning a celebration for the time that goes on the sides of the bridge. Now, there's two receptions that I know of tonight. One of them is at the Delta, and those are my people. And I've been here 8 terms. I've been to every one of their receptions. It's the natural resources kind of people, the miners, the loggers, the labor units. They're going to miss me tonight. I'm not going to be there because over at Carroll College, I should have the governor come up and describe that, and I may. But the Physical Ed Center at Carroll College, I believe is called the Lohendorf Room. Lohendorf Room from 5 to 7 p.m. Each of you is invited. And I think after sharing in the stories that were told, you might enjoy this. I think you can enjoy getting to know these people better. You have heard from the daughter who was unborn when Artie Rambo went to college, or went to Vietnam. and she was born by the time he died. You've heard from the sister, the brother. And the stories of these individual people is a great story in themselves. The meaning that Artie Rambo left. When I came to Libya in 1972, editor of the Western News, and I know might have been a few of you not born yet, but went down to the American Legion baseball field, had a game coming up. Tony Smith and Marv Sather were the coaches. Go in, and here's their inspirational talk to the team. You know what the subject was? The way Artie Rambo lived his life, the way he played the game. Thank you. I urge a due pass.
Thank you, Senator Cuff. Thank you, and thank you, the Rambo family and friends. If you'll indulge me a little bit. Sergeant Rambo is forever young. That was the toast we used to make, and I apologize because you bring back 56-year-old members. Thank you. This closes the hearing on Senate Bill 59. We will now move to executive action. Is there any comments on the bill? Oh, yeah, we need to move it. We need to. Vice Chair Temple, you were negligent on me.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it would be my honor to move this Bill 59 forward.
Okay. There we go. All right. Any comments on the bill? That being the case, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Let the record show. Oh, we need a proxy, yeah, for Senator Esp. Okay. And Mandeville. Do you have the proxy there, Senator?
Mandeville votes aye by proxy.
Senator Esp?
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, I vote aye by proxy.
Aye by proxy. Let the record show it was unanimous vote on a due pass. Okay. If there's no further business, this concludes the first session of Education Senate Education Committee. We will not be, stay tuned for further notice if we have a session on committee meeting on Thursday at 3 p.m. Stay tuned. Yes, sir. Senator.
Mr. Chairman, just for process and how we've done actions in committees before the session, is this going to be common practice for us to start moving bills as executive action right away?
Good question. No, it is not, but this is an unusual situation. We wanted to do this at EA. We'll probably have at least 2 days, if not more, depending on what the committee needs. Okay. Thank you for that question, Senator. Any other questions for the good of the committee? This committee stands adjourned.